So starting off with, so after watching the film, what was the original inspiration for the concept of Pine?
Pinocchio, to be honest. It was originally supposed to be a Pinocchio modern adaptation remake, because obviously I've tackled Peter and the Wolf and Alice in Wonderland twice, because I did 2 Wonders of Alice films and then the Looking Glass, so technically that's 3 times. But it was originally a Pinocchio idea script, and then it kind of developed into this horror idea because obviously I'm 29 years old now. I hit 30 in March, and I remember thinking, obviously after Looking Glass, I was thinking, right, what's going to be the next feature to come out? Because it was going to be 2021 or 2022, and obviously 2021 has been a very weird year because it started off lockdowns and COVID, and now with jabs and everything, now we can go out in the world and do things. But it was more the case of, like, I suppose, 2021 seemed like a good year for film, because I'm quite cheeky with that. I tend to like to release a film if there's a good year for film. So 2019 was a great year for film, so Wonders of Alice, and 2017 was a great year, so Get Cash in the Pond out. So 2021, I thought, that seems like a good year. 2022, I'll leave. And I thought it's a great way to end in my 20s a feature film, and then I thought, well, the Pinocchio idea just wasn't working, so I decided to change into a horror, because I thought, look, I'm not owned by anybody. I'm not owned by Disney or Warner Brothers or anybody, so I can just make whatever the hell I want, And I was thinking, let's just do a horror. I mean, I've done horror shorts, but doing a horror feature was a little bit more different, so I kind of went for that direction and thought, let's just make a feature film horror. Go for it.
And because we've talked about it in so many conversations, that how much you are such an adamant horror fan, and just like, how come it's taking you so long to just like kind of go straight into the kind of horror after six feature films?
Horror's never really left my DNA.
Yeah. Why took so long? Or was it just like the right project, or just like the right subject?
Well, the thing is with that, I mean, to anybody who does follow my work since when I started 16 years ago, there's always been horror in my films, even if it's not a horror film. I mean, my very first short was a horror short. It was an animated horror short called Horrorland. That was the very first one. But in terms of feature films, I'm trying to stay away from the shorts and the features. I'm trying to keep them separate. The feature films, like if you've seen like my very first feature, there was Big Crime in a Small Town. It is kind of like a sort of horror if you think about it, because the first film I wrote was about a serial killer going into this secret mission, doing what he was doing, and then he manipulates a man to do bad things. And that's kind of a horror in itself. And then Cold Street, the second feature I did in 2016, there's definitely some like horror moments there, like suspenseful moments, because there's murder and there's covering up the murder, and who's really, what's good and what's evil. And of course the Wonders films had tons of suspenseful moments. I mean, that kind of in a way is sort of like a comedy horror in some elements, because you've got this girl in this fantasy world, and she's meeting these very bizarre characters. She doesn't even know if they're real or if they're fake or, whatever. So horror hasn't really left my brain. I mean, I think if you watch every feature I've done, there's always a moment that will literally make you jump, or it's suspenseful or chilling or something like that. Because sometimes the one, well, sometimes it's criticism and sometimes it's a positive thing. I always get, God, your films are dark. Like, they go, God, your films are violent. God, your films have a lot of strong language, or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, so it's not a kids' film, I warn you, but I can't add something positive unless there's a darkness to it, because I think I'm just attracted to darkness. I know that sounds really bizarre, but it's true, but it kind of makes great storytelling. You know, darkness, horror, and you know, and that's why I went with this one. This sort of slow burn, built up horror, because I thought, because I've obviously with the short films I've gone full out with it. I mean, I just recently done a short horror film called Who Killed You, which is not going to come out until festivals. In fact, the girl who just left was in that film, the one with the blue hair, and I mean, talk about darkness. I got permission from the actresses to make it as fucked up as possible. They literally said, because I had this concept of Red Riding Hood in my brain, but it's not Red Riding, you know, this sort of visionary idea. And then I got to the actresses. I had a premise. I didn't have a script. I had a premise. And I always say, and most of you should know, I always say, look, how dark should I go with this, or how far can I go? But these were like, I want you to make it as fucked up as possible. I want it to be violent, bloody. I literally want to be screaming out of my skin. You know, I want blood everywhere. This is from them. This is me quoting them. This is not me saying it. And I'm sitting there going, huh. So, just to recap, you're literally giving me permission to write as much violence as possible. And they're like, yeah. They're like, we actually want you to go Quentin Tarantino on this shit. So I thought, okay, well, you said it, not me. So I wrote it and sent the script, and the reaction was very positive. I've got a voice recorded on Instagram. I love it. I love it. You know, the violence is amazing. And in fact, I showed the girls the short recently. Harmony she liked it, but she's quite critical. But Eleanor, the redhead goth, Jesus Christ, the reaction. She literally was like that for ages, and I literally was like, "You all right?" And she went, it literally gave me goosebumps. So I was like, good, you know, so that's what I wanted, you know, and if I get that, then it means I'm obviously telling a good story. So the reactions are what's important.
And like, so briefly, I think you touched on it earlier on, that it started off as like kind of being a bit more faithful to Pinocchio, and then you realised it was it had to go in a bit of a different direction, as it being for the horror. And so with that in mind, like sort of like how it kind of took shape, how long was the whole process of like how the script took shape in terms of the idea and just overall story, and also wanting to talk about the casting for the film, and also the locations. How did that come? What was the whole journey of that whole process?
The process, I always call it, is a ladder. It's known as the ladder. It's a process I use from start to finish. Every film I make, it you know, whether it's short or massive, it's a lot of work. Despite there's no money to it, but it's not it's not always about the money. It's always about the process of creating. Because obviously, it's all with the script. I always believe it's always with the script, because I'm a writer at heart all the time. It's always the story, because they have to read that script, and that's their sort of permission, or their sort of contract, I guess you could say, to say, I want to do this, because they have to get hooked, and they have to think, right, this is going to work, this isn't going to work, you know. With Pine, the reaction for this script was massive. Like, people really wanted to do this one. And I was literally thinking, I mean, at the top of my head, because obviously Pine, it's very different. I always experiment with every different feature I do. You know, whether it's a comedy or horror, whatever. Every film has to be different. I don't like telling the same story twice, because otherwise if they've seen it, then they'll go, well, we've already seen this, you've done it before, and they'll just walk out and think, well, why'd you come before then? You know, but I never like to tell the same story twice. It's like when I did The Looking Glass, I didn't want to repeat Alice. It had to be because it's a sequel, and obviously sequels always fall into the trap of repeating themselves. I'm alone. Excuse me. Hangover.
You had to get that
Sorry,
in.
yeah.
You had to get that in.
Yeah. No offence to who likes those movies, obviously. But come on, repeat, come on. It's a waste of a script, and it's a waste of money. But it had to be different. And so, obviously, with Pine, because obviously there has to be another story to tell with this. This was more of an experiment horror to set up something, and it had a slow burn built up with a big finale on purpose, because most films now are like that with horror. There's always build-up, there's always tension, and you want to be hooked until the end. You want to know what's going to happen with the characters if you're hooked. So with the script, I had that. They read it, and they were literally invested in Penelope and Erica, the group, you know, because I got questions like, who are these beings, and why has Penelope got these powers, and, you know, is the characters dead or alive, and stuff like that. You know, that was the story. And,
Oh yeah, no, I knew that was
Sorry.
it died, it was low battery. That's why I didn't want to.
That's fine.
No, it's
All right, let's carry on.
It is close to Halloween, so.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, bless you guys.
Okay, let's carry on. So the Pine was built up as a slow build-up film on purpose, because obviously I wanted to see if I could experiment with that and then build up with a big finale. And so the script had that. But yeah, because of COVID, because normally when there was no COVID, I would, if someone wanted to be part of the film, I would go out there and I would network with these actors, and you know, and it'd be yes or a no, or you know, maybe, stay in touch. And then what will happen after that is, you know, they'll let me know if they want to be part of the film. But because of COVID, obviously we couldn't go out. So what I done was I asked for everybody to send me audition tapes and self-tapes instead. And my email box was probably the most fullest I've ever had it in years. I must have had about 200 auditions in my inbox. From people who I also asked not to send me, because they were that desperate for showreel material, even though I told them they weren't right for the role, but they still wanted, you know, oh, look at me. Yeah, I saw. You know, I saw. But you know, with the script, you know, obviously the auditions went very well, and I was very happy with who I got, because with every film, you know, as I said, it's a lot of work, but if you've got the right people involved, like the people who are in this film, and they don't care about the struggles of making the film or anything like that, and they're just so reliable, and they want to stick by your work, and they support what you do, it's going to be amazing. And like, the shoot is going to go fine. And I think with these guys, the shoot was honestly one of the best shoots and most relaxing shoots I've ever had in a feature film. And you talked about location. The reason the film was so easy to film as well is because it was mostly in one location, which was kind of a bonus, because we filmed it up in a beautiful little woodland in Chingford, which is so lovely up there. There's hardly any people up there. It's got a lovely little stream. It's got a lovely forest. It goes out for quite a while, and it's just quite haunting. Like, even though it looks beautiful in the real life, I think I've managed to make it scary. You know. But also with the casting as well, most familiar faces were involved. I don't call them as my cast family, but there were some new people involved as well.
What was it about the new people that made you feel like I want them to be part of your casting families you got there?
Well, the first one I casted actually, before I did all the auditions, before I set out the cast like for everybody else, the first person I approached was Rihanna. She was immediately the first person I went to talk to about the script, because we've known each other for 4 years now, about 4 years, and we have never worked together yet. And the right project had never come up, or the right role. And so with this one, I wrote the role, and I thought, because sometimes someone will pop in my head for a role. I think, oh, you know, Rennie could play this role, or someone, or like that. And then I think, you know, and then, you know, Rihanna was actually the first person that popped into my head as this character. And I immediately said, look, here's a script, here's a character. If you want to do it, here's the offer. And I think 2 hours later, she was in. She was like, I'm in. I love this character. I want to do it. And Sammy as well was off. I mean, Sammy I've worked with before, but he was offered a role because the role of Cricket, you know, he was a comical character. You know, there has to be some lightness to the darkness. And so the therapist character was the comedy character. So Cricket, you know, I spoke to Sammy about it and said, look, I got this role, if you're interested. He said, let's have a read. And he said he was in. But Sammy once said to me, look, I don't care. One time he said to me, and you did say this, and don't say you didn't. What? He said to me, look, I don't care what role you do it, what it is. I just want to be in your film, because he loved working with me. Like he said, I would do any role you've given. So now you've said that, beware.
So you know, we've got like, give Charlie's motion, we've got like 5 minutes. And so
Okay, all right, that's fine, that's fine.
Make sure that
It's fine.
we keep on track.
If it cuts off, it's fine. But like the casting was great. It was fun, and everybody auditioned, sent me self-tapes, and read the script, and they were happy to do it. And you know, and I'm very happy that I got who I got in the end, because everybody was fantastic. So and the film turned out as good as I hoped, well, even better than I hoped it would be, because of those performances. So I was really happy with that.
Brilliant. And also, I think the first things you notice is the colour scheme and sort of just like in terms of the cinematography, and it very much kind of reminded me there was like elements of The Ring, and also actually ironically with the Archie and Jim, because like they're watching the DVD and the king's coming out of the television, so they kind of, there's an odd kind of synchronicity there, and just like in my mind anyway, I don't know if anyone else did. And so, or maybe that's just me, my odd mind, and so why is there a particular, were you kind of consciously thinking like, I wanted it similar to these kind of films who've used that kind of sort of grey, greeny colour scheme, or just like why did the colour scheme in the film to be like how it was, and so what was the kind of, did you feel like this is the kind of colour scheme you wanted it for?
It was intentional, yes. That's short answer, yes, intentional. Because the colour scheme for it was because it was actually experimented on by the teaser trailer. If anyone saw the teaser trailer where you see Rihanna's head turn in slow motion and there's a quick shot of Maria's staring into blank space, that colour was used for the trailer, and I thought, God, it looks really good. Like, it looks very horror. So I thought, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna experiment with the film. I'm gonna actually colour grade the entire film like that, and if it looks terrible, just put it back into normal colour. But I actually loved it that much, I thought, I'm actually gonna go for it, because it gave it such an eerie feel. I don't know if everybody else felt the eeriness and tension of the colour, because it just gave it such a very unique look. And like I said, I experiment with all my films. I mean, it could have just been in black and white, but then I thought, no, it's not going to look good in black and white. I did even try a snippet in black and white, but it actually looked awful, and I just couldn't do it. So that colour that I used, it's actually called science fiction colour, funny enough. But I also added a hint of, I forgot the flipping name of the other filter, but there was another filter I added, just touches of some scenes, not all of them, but it added a very shadowy effect in some parts. And like the scenes where the beings are in the forest and there's Jaden threatening April and Anna with the knife, I added the filters on that because the shadowy effect looks so good and it looks so eerie. And also what makes it good is you can't tell if it's nighttime or daytime. I like that, because when they watch it, they don't know if it's nighttime or daytime. And I go, does it matter? Maybe you're lost in that translation of the time. You don't know what's going on. And so they were like, oh, okay. So it really kind of messes with the audience's mind as much as the entire film itself. So, and because it was such a reaction, I mean, it was funny because I sent some show reels to April and Rihanna, and I said to them, can you let me know what the colour's like? I said, can you tell me what you think? And April said she loved it. She said it actually looks really horror. And Rihanna said it looks gorgeous. With that,
Go on.
the thing is with that, right, I left it open-ended in case if there was a sequel to happen, it wouldn't be a movie. It probably would be like a 3-part, 2-part special or something. Like, I am thinking of something to tag along with it, but in my brain, it's going to be set 20 years later, and a certain character does come back, and it's basically finding out more about what this pine really is, because obviously we don't know what it is. Obviously we know it's a power. Obviously we know Penelope had them, but we still don't know how she got them. That was all on purpose. There's questions unanswered because they are supposed to be unanswered. That's for the audience to decide. Maybe she married Superman or something, I don't know. But, you know, Penelope's mum is the wife of Superman. But that's open-ended on purpose because obviously we don't know what will happen. But there is inklings that I would like to continue with the story. But yeah, it will be a 20-year gap, and I kind of already have in my head and notes what I want to do. But if this film doesn't become a success on YouTube, then I will scrap it. So it's up to the views and the likes and the comments and the reaction I get from this film that will continue, because there's no point continuing on something if people hate it.
And
there's your answer.
And we saw a little glimpse of the upcoming feature, Legends of the Sirens, which you talked to me about. So, for those of you who don't know, could you explain what the Legends of the Sirens is and what you can expect when it gets released in 2023? Wasn't it?
Yes, 2023. It's my new feature that I've written and planned already. It's a great follow-up to Pine. And it's another gothic horror that I've put in, but it's more of a forbidden lust story. But it's based off Little Mermaid, but there's also very large hints of Black Narcissus. Has anyone seen the movie Black Narcissus?
I think it's the 60s.
Amazing masterpiece.
Is it the 60s
it's 1947.
Oh, the
Yeah, amazing masterpiece film. If you haven't seen it, I really strongly recommend it. BBC Two tend to play it like every 3 months, but no, I really do strongly recommend you try watching it because it was the inspiration for the film and the Little Mermaid, but obviously not the Disney film. It's going to be yeah, obviously there's no singing crabs or fishes.
No musical numbers.
Just book. But it is based on the story and Black Narcissus.
Christian Andersen.
Yeah, but it's
darker elements.
The only thing I could say about the film is it's a forbidden lust story that goes. I mean, God, as I said, it does go dark. Like the ending, like the reactions from the main cast I got from the script. All I can say is holy shit. Seriously.
I wish you wouldn't swear like that.
It's like,
Says you, who tells me all the rude jokes.
You are alive in the house. Please do not swear.
Oh, fuck, sorry. Anyway, so to update about Legends of the Siren, I'll just go through this quickly because I don't think are we still good on time, Charlie?
We're on time too. It's 3:53 currently.
Okay, cool. So the final thing I will say about the film is the cast is amazing. You saw 4 of them on the screen: Sarah Lyman and Kat and Nicola and Esme, who are the 4 lead mermaid characters. But we've also got a very awesome lead male protagonist called Ryan Graham, who's involved. He's quite a big actor. I'm surprised he's actually wanted to do this project. But he's playing the male protagonist, and 5 of them I've never worked with before. These are newbies, but I've met them. I've spoke to them. We had Zoom meetings about this film, and they seem very dedicated to be part of this. They enjoyed doing the trailer. So the cast is fantastic, and the film, I will say, it's definitely going to be much bigger than Pine. Like, there's much more going on with this, and there's definitely going to be a lot more mystery. And I wouldn't really go for it if I thought it could be possibly my next best feature, and I think it could be.
Right. I think that brings the Q&A to an end. Thank you so much for coming, everyone, and hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you. Right. So we're just gonna. So Megan, are you still going to take some photos with me?
Yeah.
So if you guys want a photo with me to say you've been at the premiere, we're just going to do some photos now. If you'd want to leave and you need to go, then feel free. But I just want to say, whoever is going to go home, thanks for coming, guys. Really appreciate you guys coming. It's meant a lot. I hope you have enjoyed the film. The YouTube version comes out on Halloween, so be sure to keep an eye out. And if you want to, comment on the film, share it out, do it then. So yeah, thanks guys. Thank you.